Welcome, and I present Kat Rambo, the President of Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America.
Is everyone having a good time? Thank you for coming to the Nebulas. SFWA works year-round to support, to educate, advocate for, so I can't read my own writing. Basically, we try to help our members throughout the year, but this is a chance to all get together, to wear some fancy clothing, to drink a little wine, and to celebrate the best and the brightest of our industry. Thank you all for being part of what is a very special Nebula for me. As writers, we are trained to avoid info dumps, and Robert Silberg is not here, so I cannot indulge in my joy of saying, as you know, Bob. That is one of the big perks. So I am just going to say that I am just absolutely delighted to have as our Toastmaster, John Hodgman.
But before I speak to you, I have something very, very special to announce, a very special group to introduce. I hope you are ready for profound excitement. Members of SFWA, please welcome Emperor Stardust and the eunuchs of the Forbidden City.
And this is Radio SFWA. Hit it!
So many worlds so far apart, so many solitary yet distinct. I'm the only one out in the stars, but you are not the only one. You're only one of billions. These lonely suns are legion on our solar charts. Radio SFWA, radio SFWA, radio send the rescue mothership to fetch you. Radio SFWA, radio, then you will know that you're never alone. Radio SFWA, radio, and let us know where to go. Join SFWA tonight. We'll be your colleagues and your friends. We'll fight your wrongs. We will defend you from pending threats to bend what you have penned. We've got your back. We'll help you fight attacks from any quacks trying to exact intergalactic royalty tax. Trust us and depend. SFWA, radio, and tell us if you're ready to join SFWA. Radio SFWA, radio, send the rescue mothership to fetch you. Radio SFWA, radio, and you will know that you're never alone. Radio SFWA. described, helpless rays that fly. Radio SFWA. Radio and talent in your brain. Join SFWA. Radio SFWA. Radio will send the rescue mothership to fetch you. Radio SFWA. Radio, and you will know that you're never alone. Radio SFWA. Radio, and let us know if you're going to join SFWA tonight. Radio SFWA. Radio, and talent in your brain. Join SFWA. Radio SFWA. Radio, will send the rescue mothership to fetch you. Radio SFWA. Radio, and you will know that you're never alone. Radio SFWA. Radio, and let us know if you're going to join SFWA tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, Emperor Stardust and the eunuchs of the Forbidden City. Give them a big round of applause. Now, please keep the applause going for your staff of the Palmer House who are moving that podium. Or I should say lectern. Now, welcome the John Hodgman Honor Guard. Jen? Michael? Is it Michael? No. Chris? Yes. Jen and Chris, will you please walk John Hodgman to the stage while everyone hums the Imperial March? Hang on. You guys need a cue. Hang on. You guys all do things in your own time, obviously. Yes. Thank you, Chris and Jen. Jen was saying all kinds of things to me, and I just wish there was someone here who spoke Klingon. If I don't hear an acceptance speech in Klingon tonight, I'm going to be very upset. Didn't come here from Brooklyn for nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys may be seated. Thank you very much. Or you can stand there if you wish. Round of applause for my honor guard, please. I'll hold this here, near my mouth, where it works. What a pleasure and honor to be here with you at the 50th Nebula Awards Gala Celebration Centennial. I'll call it that. I've had such a wonderful time so far already. I came in last night, and everyone has been so nice. So many people gave me nice compliments on my Quebec Nordiques hat, which has, I'm not a big sports fan, might surprise you to know looking at me, but I am a big fan of defunct hockey teams. That's my sport. And I was delighted to meet some people who also were fans of it, and I had such a great time at the autographing session last night, and I really enjoyed the profoundly, almost science-fictional juxtaposition of our ballroom full of science fiction writers and fantasy writers and fans and creators and booksellers and so forth. And then down at the end of the hall was another ballroom full of a Catholic high school having a prom. It was truly like there was a portal between two alternate realities. And we were seeing each other through a glass darkly in a weird way. And I ended up feeling very, very sad as I was leaving. I felt sad for the few high school prom goers who caught sight of us. It was like, imagine if you were 18 years old growing up in Chicago and kind of a mainstream normal human, and you were going to your prom and you were all dressed up and you had your whole life in front of you, but even though you had your whole life in front of you, you were only thinking just ahead to the after party and probably the fact that you were going to hug and kiss another human, if you know what I mean. And this is all coursing through you in excitement, and then you take a break from your dirty dancing with all your friends, and you go out into the hallway to get a breath of fresh air, and then you see this weird beard standing there with a Quebec Nordiques hat on, like this ghastly vision of the future of humanity. I was like, hi, this is what you're going to evolve into. I felt so bad for them. And then later, it got even better because I was going to my room, but I went to the wrong floor, and I got off on that floor, for the 4th floor, by accident. And I didn't even get off the elevator because the prom was still going on, and the elevator door opened. And before I could even step off of it, one of the chaperones, who I'm pretty sure was one of the Catholic high school gym teachers, because I know the face of my eternal enemy. Before the door even opened fully, he looked at me and went, "No! All your people are gone." He really said it. "You shall not pass," he said to me. And I was so frightened by him. Like, I stumbled back into the elevator, and it sort of half closed on me. Like, "I'm sorry." And then he pointed at me, and he went, "Nice Nordiques hat." I like that, old school. That's what he said. Gym teacher kind of liked my Nordiques hat. It's all a true story. It's great to be here, but I have to confess that I'm not really of this world to some degree. People think, with good reason, that I'm a big nerd because, you know, I dressed like the 4th Doctor Who all through grade school and exchanged the Vulcan salute with the President of the United States. And for many years, I was an actual computer, a living computer on television. I only recently had the last cybernetic implants removed by Apple Computer. They've allowed me to return to my family and human children. It's a terrible existence, I have to say. I'd really love to go back. And yet, the truth of the matter is that although I love science fiction and fantasy and the fans and the movies and the TV shows, the honest truth is that I am not and have never been a huge reader of science fiction and fantasy books and novellas and novelettes and the written work. It's just a blind spot in my education. I'm not proud of it. The fact is that I saw David Lynch's Dune years before I ever read the novel Dune. And when I read the novel Dune finally, I was reading it and I'm like, this isn't weird enough. Like, I like the fact that it's got giant sandworms that eat dirt and vomit hallucinogenic drugs like in the movie. That's cool. But where's the shaved cat? And where's the prolonged steam bath scene that gave me confusing feelings? So in a career like mine, in which I have posed as a fake expert for now almost a decade, I find myself at last before you, all you amazing talents and old and new friends, really terrified. I really feel like I've gone beyond the limits of my fraudulency. And I didn't have to come, you know. I didn't have to be here. You know, why am I here? Well, it's a very simple reason. Some time ago, George R.R. Martin asked me if I would come here tonight and talk to you. And when George R.R. Martin gives you a deadline, you have to take that seriously. So here we all are together, not George, by the way. Guess he's too busy. And while normally I would just pretend that I knew what I was talking about, in fact, I felt I owed you guys more. And so I did something that I have rarely ever done in my career, which is I actually did some research. I read. Spent the past spring and late winter reading. Now, I can't say that I read all of the works that are nominated tonight because I have other jobs that pay money. So I couldn't read all of them. I read an unspecified number of them. And I urge you not to quiz me to see if I read your nominated work. I will meet you all with stony silence, and I will never tell. But I will say that of all of the unspecified number of nominated works that I read, I really enjoyed all of them, to an unspecified number, every one of them. I mean, it really was the delight of the past several months reading this work and becoming familiar with the world of science fiction and fantasy of today. All the works that I read in their own ways were fun, affecting, beautiful, narratively innovative, thematically challenging, morally challenging, and in ways that I didn't remember science fiction back when I read it as a kid to be, and certainly much more than a lot of what I read now that is just called fiction. Do you know what I mean? Like, the world building that is done in the work that you're creating is astonishing, and the intricacy and the imagination that goes into creating these cohesive alternate universes just really made me appreciate that most literary fiction writers are lazy. like when Jonathan Franzen wants to write a scene for one of his books, he's just like describes what happens in real life, right? Like, if he has a character who goes into a bar to buy a drink, he doesn't have to come up with a whole like weird name for that character. He just uses one of the names we already got around, like Alan or Brenda. Those are the two best names for fiction, by the way. You should know that. Right? And Alan or Brenda is probably just a human, like we understand, right? Maybe not some kind of conjoined genderless consciousness known as Alabrenda or anything like that. It's just a regular human. And when Alabrenda orders a drink, she probably does it in a language that exists, like English or French. Jonathan Franzen doesn't have to make up a whole language and put a glossary in the back and draw a map of where this bar is and the 9 planes of existences or whatever. The drink is probably just something like a dry gin martini up with a twist stirred, which in my alternate reality is the only drink that exists. Like, he doesn't have to come up with some other kind of intoxicant, like an intoxicating film that you put on your eyeball, and when you put it on, you absorb it, and then you get to enter the dreamscape of like 7 generations of your ancestors, or your consciousness gets distributed to a pleasure computer on another moon or whatever. And Alabrenda probably, when the bill comes, pays in like dollars. Do you know what I mean? Alabrenda doesn't have to like lean over and reveal the tongue tattoo that shows which one of the 37 home clans of the high relevancy he or she belongs to. Doesn't have to pay by whispering in the ear of the tavern keep a terrible, awful secret, because in this world there is no money. The only currency is exchanged shame. I'm pitching my novel right now. It's called the Alabrenda Ascendancy. Book the first of the Hodgmanomicon. Now, I don't know whether my novel is science fiction or fantasy. It's hard to say. All the genres are confusing. There's so many subgenres. There's hard science fiction. There's soft science fiction. There's medium firm Tempur-Pedic science fiction. There's steampunk is one, I know, and then steam post-punk, and then steam new wave, and then steamo, which is a combination of steam and emo music. My favorite has always been dystopian fiction, but someone told me that dystopian fiction is a little out of style right now, and if that's true, that's not a future I want to live in. But the genres, they shift and they morph and they cross over, which is just right. This is what science fiction and fantasy has always done: change, grow, redefine itself, redefine the kinds of stories that we can tell about ourselves. And for all the new worlds that you've built, there are still many more new worlds to build, new frontiers of human experience to explore. For whatever happens in human culture, there's a new way to speculate upon it and recontextualize it, extrapolate it way into the future, or make it ride a dragon. You can do anything with human culture. So for any of you who might be coming to the end of your 9 to 10 book cycle and you don't know what you're going to do next, I have some ideas for you, and you can take them for free. Just cut me in on 30% of your gold pieces or whatever. See what? So here's the first. So we all know that science fiction and fantasy has become more and more inclusive in the people that it represents, which is something I'm very proud. Well, I'm not proud of it because I'm not doing it, but I'm glad of it. But that gym teacher last night really reminded me that there is one class of people who are not really represented in science fiction and fantasy right now, and that's college fraternities. Do you know what I mean? Where's my frat sci-fi, right? Where's my bro punk? That's what I want to know. I mean, I know it's all over at the Hugos. I know that, but yeah, I went there. But I'm talking about a specific idea I have for a novel. Consider this as a novel set in an alternate world where the entire Earth is a Big Ten college, and everyone has to compete to join one of several houses, each with its own 3-letter code, in a strange language, and each with a rotting sofa on its porch. And a young man, of course, enters this world and must survive humiliating rituals and poisoning before being sent on a quest to collect 5 magical lacrosse sticks. And then he goes on to make bank at a hedge fund and actually has a pretty awesome life. And he never really suffers in any way or suffers a moment of self-reflection in his entire life. The end. I call it A Feast for Bros. Or book one of the privilege unchecking. So obviously there is a genre, alternate reality, but what about reality, alternate reality? So the idea I have here is you start with HGTV superstars, the Property Brothers. Some of you know what I'm talking about. So this joke is going to make sense to only them. But you know we're not about reaching a mass audience, you guys. We're about reaching niche audiences. There's something for everyone. So the Property Brothers, so this is what happens in the book, is the Property Brothers discover that they're not human. They're actually half human, half ancient alien, and that's why they look that way. And they've been doing this remodel of a bungalow in Toronto, and they discover that this open plan kitchen is actually a magic portal to another world, like a Narnia-like world, and it's a paradise, except it's under the grip of a tyrant, the deep-fried meaty fist of Guy Fieri, and he lives there. So the Property Brothers get like the Pawn Stars and the American Pickers, and they all go into this world and take down the tyrant, but then they start fighting each other in this pointless, endless conflict until they finally have to team up against the real threat, which is the hoarders coming from the north, coming to crush them with their accumulated newspapers and squashed cats and snow globes. This is obviously called A Song of Ice and Fieri, obviously. And finally, as a podcaster and a contributor to Chicago's own This American Life, I am required to ask, why has no one done this? Why is there no post-apocalyptic NPR punk? Right? Why is there no Prairie Wasteland Companion? Hosted by Garrison Keillor, except now he's nude in a lucha libre mask and chained to a Ford F-150. Far in the future, because you know that dude is never going to retire. Why is there no show called Wait, Don't Harvest My Body for Organs? And this one really sells itself. Car Talk, Fury Road. When I go out on my run, hi guys, when I go out on my run with trading clean blood for bullets and human meat, sometimes my engine in my doom buggy goes tick, 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 tick. And then they just laugh and laugh maniacally for 10 hours. In seriousness, though, by the way, you can use all of those, it's fine. I don't believe in copyright. In seriousness, though, I am grateful to be here and that you have been so welcoming of me into your world, and I am grateful that you are creating these new worlds. I'm surprised at how often the genre is still described as escapism. We are not escaping to your worlds. You are kidnapping us. You are disrupting us. You are putting us elsewhere and allowing us to look back on our own world in ways that sober us and shock us and inspire us and to be better and to do better in the world. And you help us appreciate truly the vastness of this universe, the unlikeliness of our very existence, and its brevity in the context of a cold, uncaring universe, nay, multiverse, in which every one of our lives and accomplishments over 200,000 years of human existence will be forgotten in the void, and which will itself be forgotten when the void itself disappears. We are but specks of specks, revolving impotently on a globe at the edge of a vast galaxy, which is encased in an unfathomably large lucite cube, being awarded somewhere beyond our perception to some god creature we cannot comprehend, who does not care if any of us exists. So, enjoy your award. Thank you very much. Shall we not get this started? I think we shall. First award to be given out tonight, if I am not mistaken, and someone will let me know if I am, is the Kevin O'Donnell Jr. Service to SFWA Award. Is that correct? Yes! And here to present the award, my friend from last night, Gay Haldeman, everybody. Is this on? I apologize. Just tell me what you'd like to say, and I'll say it to them.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd come on a stage behind John Hodgman. That's amazing. Thank you. That was great. As the wife of a former president of the Science Fiction Writers of America, I am well aware of what the volunteers do for this organization. They are invaluable. The whole organization is volunteer, and people put in tremendous number of hours. Kevin O'Donnell Jr. was one of the many folks who've gone above and beyond in service to SFWA and was the first to receive this award. The Kevin O'Donnell Jr. Service to SFWA Award is given at the discretion of the president and with the board's approval to a member of SFWA who best exemplifies the ideal of a service to his or her fellow members. Dr. Lawrence M. Schoen has spent years as head of the Elections Committee, reaching out to members, asking or begging or cajoling or even threatening, allegedly, them to get them to run for office. He's a large part of the reason we have so many fine, hardworking, dependable officers in SFWA, and it's difficult to do that. He is also fluent in the Klingon language and a Nebula nominee. And Dr. Schoen, where are you? Come up and get your award, which I don't know.
Nuchnech John Hodgman, Kalegnesh. I had to. I will keep this short because I don't do humble well, and I'm seriously blown away by this honor. For the past 8 years, I've had the privilege of serving on the election committee, enticing members to stand for office, and enduring paper cuts as we counted the ballots. I want to say thank you to everyone who's been on the committee for their tireless work. Thanks also to those members who succumbed to our efforts, ran for office. You're the reason SFWA exists. Thank you to all the presidents who kept appointing me to the position, whether I wanted it or not. and especially Cat Rambo for accepting my resignation, thereby enabling me to run for a director position. It's been and continues to be a privilege to be of service to this organization. Thank you very much.
Congratulations and thank you. We now move on to the Ray Bradbury Award for Outstanding Dramatic Presentation. And here to present that award is Merck Rustad.
Good evening. I'm very honored to present the Ray Bradbury Award for Outstanding Dramatic Presentation. The nominees for this category are Ex Machina, which is written by Alex Garland, Inside Out, screenplay by Pete Docter, Meg LaFave, Josh Cooley, original story by Pete Docter, Ronnie Del Carmen, Jessica Jones, aka Smile, teleplay by Scott Reynolds and Melissa Rosenberg, story by Jamie King and Scott Reynolds, Mad Max, Fury Road, written by George Miller, Brendan McCarthy, Nick Lathuris, The Martian, screenplay by Drew Goddard, Star Wars The Force Awakens, written by Lawrence Kasdan, J.J. Abrams, and Michael Arndt. Here's the exciting part. The winner of the Ray Bradbury for Best Outstanding Dramatic Presentation goes to Mad Max Fury Road. George Miller, Brendan McCarthy, Nick Lathuris. Congratulations. G'day. George Miller wishes he could be here to accept the Ray Bradbury Award. I'm not George Miller. Unfortunately, he's serving as the jury president of the Cannes Film Festival this weekend. I guess that does. His absence should in no way be taken to mean he's not honored to be a recipient of the award, just that he had another commitment. Thank you so much, very much for this honor. Mad Max has been a long-term project, and the franchise has come a long way from the original film to the movie SFWA has chosen to honor tonight. Thank you for recognizing Mad Max Fury Road for Outstanding Dramatic Presentation with the Ray Bradbury Award.
Congratulations, George Miller. Kate, the next award is the Kate Wilhelm Solstice Award, and here to present that award is Jody Lynn Nye.
The Kate Wilhelm Solstice Award, created in 2008 and given at the discretion of the SFWA president with majority approval of the board of directors, is for individuals who have had a significant impact on the science fiction or fantasy landscape, and is particularly intended for those who have consistently made a major positive difference within the speculative fiction field. It has been given to living honorees in past years, as well as to the late Carl Sagan. I dearly wish that I had been able to present it to this year's recipient for my deep and long-standing admiration of him and his work. In his lifetime, Terry Pratchett gifted his readers with over 70 books about science fiction, fantasy, and cats. His most notable series is The Discworld, a highly improbable case of world building in which witches, wizards, dwarves, and dragons interact with bureaucrats, inventors, college professors, and talking dogs. His books are filled with absurd fun, but at the heart of them, and I use the term deliberately, is warmth and understanding of the human condition. In other words, he knows how silly we are, and he loves us anyway. He introduced us to innumerable, memorable, and poignant characters, including Granny Weatherwax, Captain Sam Vimes, The Luggage, Susan Stowe-Hellett, Cut-Me-Own-Throat Dibbler, The Patrician, Tiffany Aching, and death himself. Terry's work has made me laugh until my sides ache, and once made me cry with a single word. For those of you who haven't experienced his books yet, I say, come for the comedy and stay for the wisdom. Terry Pratchett has undeniably made a major positive difference in the speculative fiction field. Therefore, it is with great pleasure that I presented to Sir Terence David John Pratchett the 2016 Solstice Award. I believe Rob Wilkins is here to accept it.
Very many thanks. Thank you, Jodie. Thank you. And I really wish that Terry Pratchett was here himself. I'm obviously not Terry Pratchett. He sends his apologies. He's at a very fine dinner party at the moment with God and David Bowie. Very many thanks to Cat Rambo and the board of SFWA. Thanks also to Captain Stardust and his very fine eunuchs. I must put in an order for some of my own. Terry said that a man is not dead while his words are still spoken, while his name is still spoken. So please indulge me for just one moment while I refer to Terry's words. I thought it would be very appropriate tonight to read one of his poems, actually, an ode to multiple universes. I do have words enough and time to spare an hour to find a rhyme, to take a week to pen an article, a day to find a rhyme for particle. In many worlds my time is free to spend 10 minutes over tea and steal the time from some far moon so words can take all afternoon. Away beyond the speed of light, I'll write a novel in one night. Eons beckon if I want 'em, but I can't have 'em because of quantum. So very many thanks to you all. Thanks for this. I would like to dedicate this, obviously, to my great friend, my boss, Sir Terry Pratchett, who I really wish was here. But I also want to dedicate this to someone who wasn't a great writer. He wasn't a best-selling author. I want to dedicate this to somebody who none of you know, and his name was Jerry Davis. And he was just a father and a grandfather, but he also succumbed to Alzheimer's disease, which is a bastard, and I wish we could really kick it up the arse as Terry wanted to. So here's to Terry Pratchett, here's to Jerry Davis, and thank you all so very much. Thank you.
Congratulations and thank you for those wonderful words. So we will now move on to the Andre Norton Award for Young Adult Science Fiction and Fantasy. And here to present that award is Daryl Gregory. There he is.
This award is in honor of Andre Alice Norton, who she died at 93, having written over 100 books. I'm not really good at math, but that's I think almost a book a year. I feel terrible about having wasted my toddler years sucking on Lincoln Logs and trying to ride the cat. I could have gotten a lot more writing done. Obviously, she was busy. So this is the award for Best Young Adult Science Fiction and Fantasy, also including, middle grade works. The nominees tonight, these slackers who have not written 100 books yet, but have written very fine work. I know they have. Seriously Wicked by Tina Connolly. Court of Fives by Kate Elliott. Cuckoo Song by Frances Harding. Archivist Wasp, Nicole Corner Stace. Zero Boxer by Fonda Lee. Shadow Shaper by Daniel Jose Older. Bone Gap by Laura Ruby. Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. And Updraft by Fran Wilde. And this year's Norton Award goes to Updraft by Fran Wilde. I did say Updraft. You want me to hold this while you talk?
Can I put this down? Guys, it's a little high. Hi. I wrote an alternate universe speech, which you should really go after this. They're awesome. I didn't think to write one because there's never been a book there's never been a book in both categories, and so hi. Thank you very much. From the bottom of my heart, this is amazing. If you don't mind, I'd like to read my alternate universe speech because it's funny and I'm really nervous. I come to you today from an odd little location somewhere between knee height and ankle height. This land is called the lower half of the bookshelf. My friends and I, the S's, the T's, the U's, the V's, and the W's, all the way to the Z's, would like to thank you for searching both high and low, and would encourage you to continue your deep knee bends because they're good for you as you reach for our books. We have so many good stories to tell. As well, I'd like to thank this community of writers for the exquisite experience of finding myself listed among my heroes. You made this beautiful list, all of them, that reflects so much about our community and our strengths. Thanks especially to the groups and the workshops and those who teach our craft every day in ways large and small. To my agents, Russ Galen and Rachel Corey, thank you. And I'd like to thank another W, my editor, Miriam Weinberg, and her incredible colleagues at Tor, including Patrick Nielsen Hayden, Irene Gallo, Patty Garcia, and Artie, Stephen Martinier, and Tommy Arnold, who have made my debut year so incredible. And last but not least, for the lowest rung has the greatest honor in the bookshelf underworld. I'd like to thank my family. You are wild and wonderful, and without you, I'd be so much higher on the shelf, but never so happy and so supported. Thank you.
Congratulations, Fran. I don't know why you gave such a cynical acceptance speech, but to each their own, I suppose. No, many congratulations indeed. So now we move on to the Damon Knight Memorial Grandmaster Award. And here, of course, to present the award is SFWA President Kat Rambo.
There are good moments and bad moments about being SFWA president, and I will say this is undoubtedly one of the very, very best. One of the things that I found when I became president was suddenly people wanted to talk to me, and they'd be like, I need to talk to you. And like we'd go down a hallway into some dark room and say, have you thought about the SFWA Grandmaster? And I would say, yes, yes, because 20 other people today have mentioned that as well. The SFWA Grandmaster is someone who has absolutely and indelibly shaped the industry. And it is my privilege as president to pick one, but I had a no-brainer. I had someone who I have read all my life. I have someone who has written over 60 books. I have someone who has written worlds that I'm sure all of us have walked in. And so it is a huge, tremendous pleasure to give this award to Carolyn Cherry.
Oh, thank you. Now you're going to make me lose it. Thank you so much. I'm tremendously honored, very surprised. I'd like to thank the leadership and officers of SFWA, the organization. I'd like to thank my readers. I'd like to thank my wonderful partner, Jane Fancher. We've worked together for many years. Our lives are just kind of interwoven in crazy ways. I'd like to thank Don and Elsie Wilhelm, who took me out of the slush pile, and Don let me quit my teaching job, which I loved, but you know, it wasn't my life's destination. They let me quit, handed me a 3-book contract with no stipulations, no due date, nothing, just go do it. And that launched me. They let me write magic cookie books, things that would really have trouble getting published today, but just quirky books that helped me grow as a writer. I want to thank my agent, Matt Bialer, who can't be here this evening. I want to thank Betsy Walheim, my current editor and mentor, and Sheila and all the folks at DAW who helped the books come out. I want to thank just absolutely everybody. I want to say, I am far from finished. I have so many stories I want to do, and I'm in pretty good shape, and I absolutely intend to do them. So thank you all very, very much.
We have a couple of other objects for CJ. And this beautiful glow.
Oh, this is a wonderful thing.
But I also...
It moves.
It moves. The other thing is, those of you who got the book bags, you may have noticed that there was the CJ Cherry trading card in there. And we have to present a very special version of it. Walter Day, who is the creator of the cards, has brought a special version for you.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
So I'm new to all of you. My name's Walter Day. I'm from Fairfield, Iowa, a little town of 10,000 people surrounded by cornfields. And it's an unusual town because out of the 10,000 people, more than 4,000 of them practice transcendental meditation. So it's very famous for being a creative town. And I'm honored to be here to hopefully bring something creative to the historical, part of science fiction. And I started the trading card set as actually really as a hobby. It's not something that seems to sell, but I sure give a lot of them away. And I'm very, very honored to give you your trading card tonight, on behalf of all of us, because the history of science fiction can be distilled into something as charming and as interesting as a trading card. So I hope that as time goes on, I'll be able to commemorate the whole history of the culture, not just the books and the authors, but the culture, the events, the different things. And so in my personal studies, I've studied a set of books called the Vedas. And the Vedas are written in Sanskrit. They're thousands of years old. And some of the books are called the Concise Yoga Vasishta. And in the Concise Yoga Vasishta, these ancient sages named Valmiki and Vasishta talk about the nature of the universe. And they insist that the universe manifests again and again and again, dissolving, then dissolving and manifesting like a strobe light. And they also say that the universe is the same every time it manifests again. So if that's true, that means that you and I have stood on the stage 1 billion trillion times. 1 billion trillion times I've given you this award while you folks all sat out there. And I wanted to tell you that I personally have read a lot of your books, and I love your stuff so much that it's been an honor to be up here 1 billion trillion times giving you this award. And I look forward to seeing you again in the next creation and giving the award to you again. So on behalf of all of us and all of the people who haven't been here, but who aren't here with us anymore, I'd like to give you your historical trading card, a commemorative frame here of her card. And anyway, thank you very much for the wonderful stuff. I've had so much fun reading your books, and I'm personally honored to be here. So thank you very much.
I'd like to welcome back to the stage our president, Cat Rambo.
Okay, so this is a sad moment of being the president, which is that we would like to celebrate the people that we have lost over the course of the last year. Is there going to be a... We can run those slides.
So now we move on to the main event. Would that be correct to say, John Scalzi? Yes, it would. Okay. The Nebula Awards, you all know what they are. I have had great pleasure learning more about them and the community of SFWA that makes them happen year after year, selecting the best of science fiction and fantasy in the United States. You know the categories: short story, novella, novelette, novellatina, novelentillo, novelancini, novelita, and novel. And we will begin tonight with the first, the Nebula Award for Best Short Story, which will be presented by Rachel Axe. Rachel.
Hi, everyone. I totally didn't eat a frog. I'm just sick. Sorry. So I'm here to present the award for Best Short Story, or as I like to think of it, the list of people whose brains I would most like to eat so I can absorb their amazing short story powers. And the nominees for this award are Madeline by Amal El-Mokhtar, Cat Pictures, Please by Naomi Kritzer, Damage by David D. Levine, When Your Child Strays from God by Sam J. Miller, Today I Am Paul by Martin L. Shoemaker, and Hungry Daughters of Starving Mothers by Alyssa Wong. All right, and the winner, the Nebula for Short Story, goes to Hungry Daughters of Starving Mothers, Alyssa Wong. Get that fabulous dress up here. Right there.
Can I keep it forever? Oh my God.
I'm not going to tell anyone. Here.
No, I mean, oh my God.
I get to hold her award.
Wow. Thank you so much. Anyway, thank you. So Hungry Daughters of Starving Mothers was originally published in Nightmare Magazine's special issue, Queers Destroy Horror, which highlighted work by queer-identified artists, writers, and creators. And I was, and I am, incredibly honored to be part of the Destroy projects because I think that having bold representation in media is incredibly important. It tells people like us, yes, our stories are wanted, and yes, we can do it. And I believe that everyone should have that experience. So I'd like to thank Wendy Wagner, my editor, and the Nightmare Magazine staff who've worked so hard on the Queers Destroy Horror issue and who consistently turn out quality work. Huge thanks to Carl Engel Laird for helping me title the story because I am consistently terrible at titles. I'd like to thank my Clarion class who sat through an abysmal first draft of the story and refused to let me give up on it. And the biggest thanks to my partner, Dawn, for believing in me and supporting my work. So finally, I'd like to thank my queer Asian American family. This one's for you. Thanks.
It's really heavy.
It's heavy. I'm going to fall on my face. I'm here to catch
you. Congratulations. Our next award is in the category of Best Novelette, and here to present the award is Alec Navala Lee.
So I've spent a lot of the last year or so reading a lot of stories from what we call the golden age of science fiction. which, as we all know, stretched from March 1938 through May 1950. And if you're wondering what happened in May 1950, I'll just say, don't ask. These are all great stories, but sometimes I'll be reading, a story, and I'll say to myself, it really feels like the author wrote this story for the money. And the great thing about reading a novelette today is that that's not true. With these 6 astounding stories, all I have in common is that, they were clearly written for the love. And the nominees are Rattlesnakes and Men by Michael Bishop, And You Shall Know Her by the Trail of Dead by Brooke Bolander, Grandmother Nylalit's Cloth of Winds by Rose Lemberg, The Ladies Aquatic Gardening Society by Henry Lien, The Deepwater Bride by Tamsin Muir, and Our Lady of the Open Road by Sarah Pinsker. And the Nebula goes to Our Lady of the Open Road by Sarah Pinsker.
I can see the advantage of the long way around as you get a moment to compose yourself, and I took the short way because I'm not good on heels. Oh my goodness. I am not going to give my alternate universe speech. I left my alternate universe mustache over there, and but I have some for everyone else. I want to say thank you to everyone who read this and voted on it, and to everyone else for just for welcoming me into this community. I've only been here a little while, but I've been reading all of you a very long time. I want to say thank you to Sheila at Asimov's and Emily, Sheila for buying my stories, but also for supporting me from the very beginning, and for friendship as well. And Emily for letting me change the band names in the story like 100 times. All of the band names had to, you understand. I want to thank all of the other nominees, not just in my category, which was amazing, and has 100% presence here, which is pretty cool. But we had this huge Facebook list that's been going on for like 3 months now of a good number of the nominees, and it's just been so much fun getting to know everybody, and the stories are wonderful, but the people are wonderful too. I want to thank my 1993 Plymouth Grand Voyager, rest in peace, which was my van that took me from Seattle to New York and Toronto to Texas, and only gave up because it was stolen. I want to thank the Red Canoe bookstore, which not only lets me write there all day, all the time, but also saves a table for me and my friend Kelly. My father for making sure that the science fiction was always on the lowest shelves from the very beginning. So he has full runs of like every magazine. He has every year's best. I read it all. I know you all through your stories. My mother and my sisters, who are the best beta readers anyone could have, and who also dress me for fancy stuff because I'm not very good at that. And the reason I'm not giving my alternate universe speech tonight is because for the last 2 years I've done that, and I've said this is not the right timeline for me. It might be for some of you. It's not for me because my wife can't be here, and this year she's here in the country again, and she's the most wonderful person and so yeah, this is for you and for all of you. Thank you. This is the best of all timelines.
Again, it's just a shame that couldn't have been more heartfelt or affecting. Congratulations. We move on now to the Nebula Award for Best Novella. Here to present the award is S.B. Divya.
I am deeply honored to be here. This year's nominees span the range of our genre, from science to magic, space to steampunk, and all shades in between. The nominees for Best Novella are Wings of Sorrow and Bone by Beth Cato, The Bone Swans of Amundale by C.S.E. Cooney, The New Mother by Eugene Fisher, The Pauper Prince and the Eucalyptus Gin by Usman T. Malik, Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, and The Waters of Versailles by Kelly Robson. And the Nebula for Best Novella goes to Binti by Nnedi Okorafor.
Can you hold it for me? Thank you. Geez, I didn't expect this. Hello, everyone. Wow. Okay, let me just read this. Okay. I wrote most of this novella in a very feverish state while holed up in my condo in New York, in Buffalo, New York. I just uprooted my life to start teaching at a university states away from my home base, and none of my family, except my daughter, approved of this move. Fear, wonder, disaster, isolation, adventure, and the alien were all on my mind. And so I was finally ready to write my first story set in outer space. I'd like to thank my daughter, Anyugo, who's sitting over there, for essentially coming up with the plot for this novel. When you get stuck, ask a plucky, imaginative 11-year-old who happens to be right next to you. You'll be unstuck in no time. Many thanks to my tour editor, the visionary Lee Harris, and my agent Don Moss for knowing just the right place for this story. Thanks to all of my readers for their much-needed encouragement. Thanks to the blue jellyfish in the Sharjah Khalid Lagoon. And a special thanks to the lovely Himba people of Namibia for keeping it real, and the future ancient lands of the United Arab Emirates for showing me a very interesting place. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. And thank you all so very much for coming to the Nebulas. That's it. I think we're out of time, unfortunately. Do we have just enough time to squeeze in best novel? Okay, one more. Okay, just one more. The Nebula Award for best novel is about to be presented by Helene Wecker.
Very honored to be up here tonight. I was trying to think of something cute and pithy to say, but I've been holding this envelope for hours and I am dying. So, yes, I will read the nominees. I don't even know who that was. The nominees are for Nebula for Best Novel, Raising Cain by Charles E. Gannon. The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. Ancillary Mercy by Ann Leckie. The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. Uprooted by Naomi Novik. Barsk, The Elephant's Graveyard by Lawrence M. Schoen. And Updraft by Fran Wilde. Can I open this now? Is that okay? We got time? Okay. The Nebula for Best Novel goes to Uprooted by Naomi Novik.
So I have to confess something. I was going to write a speech for the alternate universe, and I was going to write that a couple weeks ago, and then I was going to write it this week, and then I was going to write it on the plane, and as I sadly often do whenever I'm faced with a deadline, I wrote some fanfic instead. So this is going to have to be extemporaneous. I am so deeply honored, not least because the nominees this year were so amazing. I just, there were so many of them that I loved myself, and that I honestly, I didn't actually think I was going to win. I have to thank my husband, Charles Ardai, who is the best in-house editor anyone could have, and my editor at Del Rey, Anne Grohl, who believed in this book from when it was just a very short excerpt at the beginning, and let me tell her about Agnieszka and the Dragon. And most of all, I have to thank my mother. This book is a book that comes from the stories that she read me when I was a small child, and she read me the stories that she brought with her from Poland and gave me a universe, a world that does not exist except in her heart and in mine, but which is very real to us both. And that's why this book was a book of my heart, and it makes me so happy that you've taken it to yours. Thank you so much.
So, one more round of applause for all of the nominees. Winners, friends, associates, organizers of this year's Nebula's Award, thank you very, very much for allowing me to be a part of it. The alternate universe acceptance speeches will occur in this room after a appropriate period of complete silence, or some getting drinks. One or the other. You can choose. I know which one I'm going to do. And I hope you will come back for it. Before it begins, I'd like to welcome SFWA President Kat Rambo back to the stage to say a few words of thanks to all of the incredible people who organized this event and worked so hard to make it happen. And I will now take your time. No, I meant, that sounded very sarcastic, but I really meant it. I saw you, I felt bad for you. I was like, just relax, because I know how to pad it out. Thank you very much, Madam President, for having me. And this is actually perfect, because I would like to close my portion of the evening quoting my favorite line from David Lynch's Dune, which is from the scene in which the third stage guild navigator takes his leave from the Padishah Emperor and says, "This conversation did not happen, and I was never here." Thank you very much.
We do, actually, we're going to bring John back up onto the stage because we have a present for you. And this is a token of our appreciation. It moves, as Carolyn noticed.
It moves, just like Galileo said.
It's not, oh, God!
Oh, I can take it off. Fantastic. Got a good weight to it. It's so lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Call Stephen, please.
Stephen.
I don't know if you can hear me on the internet, so this is just for this room. I didn't know this was happening. I didn't write anything more than what I already wrote, which was enough. But I have to say, this is truly meaningful to me, and thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
And unlike the conversation that did happen, I would like to bring Stephen H. Silver up here because we have a present for him as well. Now, we couldn't do it without Stephen. We couldn't do it without the volunteers, but here is perhaps the key person in terms of wrangling volunteers, in terms of just being unflappable in the face of all sorts of crises. So I know I can always be calm because Stephen has it well in hand. So please allow us to give you a token of our, wait, what am I doing? Kate's shaking, oh, I'm sorry. Oh.
Kate's shaking her head because we plotted something else actually, Kat, but thank you. First of all, I hope you had a good time so far at the Nebulas. They're not over yet. If you go upstairs, my volunteers in the hospitality suite have food and wine and beer and hospitality for you, and please take advantage of it. It'll make them so happy. And the more you eat and the more you drink, the less we have to cart out of here tomorrow. And this is a huge endeavor, and I had a lot of support from a lot of wonderful people. And if you look in the program book for the weekend, and if you look in the pocket program for tonight, you will see two different lists. So please look in both books at your convenience so that you can see the names of most of the volunteers who helped put this on. Because although I had a lot of help in the planning stages over the last year, 2 years, of people who gave 2 years of their lives to me to bring you last year's Nebulas and this year's Nebulas, we also had a lot of volunteers who stepped up at this event to help us when we needed help. So if you volunteered, if you were on my staff, if you raised your hand when we called on you this weekend, please stand up. And as you look around the room, please give a big warm applause for my staff. And if you see any of them upstairs in the hospitality suite or in the halls or in the function space, please thank them, as I want to thank all of you for making me look good. Now, this past year, SFWA looked at what I was doing and said, you need help. And my psychiatrist agreed. But SFWA gave me help in the person of Tara LeMay, who has also been named an event coordinator. And this weekend, well, I got to relax here at the Palmer House, eating wonderful food and, taking warm baths. Tara was running back and forth between the Palmer House and McCormick Place to make sure that SFWA also had a presence at Book Expo America and today at BookCon, which is a huge job. And I want to thank Tara for making it so that I didn't have to worry about any of that. And Tara, I don't know where you are. I really can't see beyond, well, Jane, please come on up here because we do have a gift for you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else who would like to come up and thank anybody? Okay, the next part of the evening, we would like to have all of the winners, all of the people who got to take home trophies, step over here so that Richard Mann can get a group shot and Locust can get a group shot and anybody else with a camera can get a group shot. I bet we all have cameras. Just reach into your pocket. You used to be able to use them to make calls. And so we'll get a group picture over here. We'll go click, 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 flash, flash, flash. And then after that's over, Sarah Pinsker and Henry Lien will host this year's alternate universe acceptance speeches. And they have mustaches so that your evil twin can give your speech. So thank you very much, and I hope that you have a very pleasant evening and tomorrow, and thank you all for coming to the 50th Annual Nebula Awards. And join us next year in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Thank you.
So many worlds so far apart, so many solitary artists think I'm the only one out in the stars. But you are not the only one, you're only one of billions. These lonely suns are legion on our solar charts. Radio SFWA.